Welcome to another edition of Drinking with Craig and Roger. I'm Roger.
I'm Craig.
And today we're going to explore what happens with the whiskey when it's aged in a barrel.
Yeah, how much impact does it have? How much is the distillate part of the flavor and how much is the barrel?
Yes, and these are Buffalo Trace products with their wheated mash bill, which is the same that is used in Weller and
Vanwinkle, all the Vanwinkles, yeah.
The white dog is how it comes off the still. You can see that it's clear.
Yeah.
And all whiskey that comes off the still is clear when it comes off. Whew. And the Weller, this one has been aged.
It's a non-age stated.
Okay.
Probably,
let's
say 5 to 7 years.
Probably,
6 to 8,
since they're
like
charging that much.
Yeah, it's probably like 4 to 6 years, something like that. Yeah, 90 proof, so, you know.
Okay, it's going to be intense.
Yeah.
And then the old Rip Van Winkle now, that's aged 10 years, okay, and it's 107 proof, so it's going to be pretty intense.
Big step up. And how much, what was this, 90 proof on the white dog? 114.
114. Yeah.
So that's even stronger than the old Rip. So we'll see.
Okay.
They give you a really good taste of what it's like.
Yeah. Well,
and I love the cute little bottle.
Is they cute? Yeah. Well, it was the only white dog I could find. I was looking for it. So.
I think they do make a white dog of Buffalo Trace. They're the same mash bill using that, but it's kind of hard. It's just like all their stuff. It's so hard to find. Yeah. You can find this sometimes, but the price is greatly inflated. This is very hard to find, and a friend of mine got it in a lottery, basically. So I saw on the documentary Neat is what it was called, at Buffalo Trace's distillery. They had a guy who gives tours, and he had people take a little bit of the white dog and put it in their hand and rub it together and smell it.
Yeah.
Can we try that? Sure. All right, so let's take just a tiny bit here.
Here, do it this way.
Okay, that's a good idea, yeah. All right, I'm gonna take a little bit and then smell.
You should be able to smell corn.
Or in this place.
Yeah, corn.
Pretty much straight corn. Oh, and now it smells like a brewery.
Yeah.
Okay, then he said you do it one more time.
Okay.
And then you can start smelling, what was it? Another aspect to it.
Okay. I remember doing this.
It still smells like a brewery.
Yeah, it smells like mash.
Yeah, mash, exactly. So, all right, interesting. But maybe you get a little taste of the essence of the spirit,
Yeah, and if you're having, there's a little trick too with this.
Yeah.
If you're having trouble getting to smell it very much, if you put your hand over it and shake it, it'll stir up the whiskey or wine and allow more of the fumes to get up here, more concentrated when you take your hand off.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
And I actually incidentally got more on my hands, so high quality, high dollar hand sanitizer.
Yep.
Anyways, okay, so I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't smell good.
Well, it smells like raw whiskey.
Yeah, which I have never really smelled raw whiskey, like a good whiskey, not moonshine. It's, I mean, not unlike some vodkas.
Well, it is not harsh.
Sweet.
It is sweet. It is very intense. Probably
not harsh at all.
114 proof. It's very nice when done well.
Pretty good.
And you can drink it straight off the still, and it was done that way for centuries. It was only when they had, excess that they stored it in barrels. And it was only after a mistake, an accident, they noticed that it improved with age.
This is the base, so I gotta lock in this. This is great. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. So let's see. Okay, one more sip.
But it still tastes.
It does have some spice to it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that's the base. That's what they start with.
Yeah, the corn is
now
pretty intense.
We're gonna step up here to the Weller Green
90.
Special Reserve.
Yeah.
This is a solid bourbon.
Huh?
Way different on the nose, of course. Oof. Oh, God. Ooh, hard to go back to the white dog. That nose on the white dog. Right. Well, it's a lot better. The Weller is a lot better. What are any other differences you're noticing?
Yeah, the Weller I think is terrific.
It's very good.
It's probably only around 4 years old, I think.
Yeah, 4 to 6.
But that makes a huge difference.
There is a deeply unpleasant note in the White Dog, especially on the nose. I don't mind drinking it, but I hate smelling it, and it's almost completely gone. It is completely gone in the barrel aged version. Well, it must be the corn.
Yeah, it's in there, but it's got so much else added to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
From the barrel, from the barrel.
And you know, it's funny. This was probably more expensive than this. I'm sure. I know it was.
This is I think $25. Something.
Yeah, $25 for a half bottle versus what should be, I don't know, $28 for the full. So interesting, but it's worth it for science.
And so now, are we ready to move on to?
Let's do one last thing. Let's do a little bit of this on the hand, move it around, and see if we notice any difference.
Okay.
Just in the smell. I get the same notes.
Yeah, you get the corn.
That's where it really comes out. It's not in the smell or the taste out of the glass, but in your hand it is.
But it's a softer.
Oh god. Oh yeah. Oh,
it's softer smell now.
Yeah, this is a much more potent smell.
Yeah, this is modified quite a bit.
So now we're at the exceedingly hard to find, incredibly overpriced when you do, unless you win it in a lottery, old Rip Vanwinkle, which is one of the higher, in the slightly higher-ish tier of the whole Buffalo Trace weeded line. It is in the Vanwinkle family, so I believe that these barrels are hand selected by the Vanwinkle family. That's what makes the difference between a Weller and a Vanwinkle. It's the Vanwinkle family pulling the barrels they like the best. Outside of that, it's all the same.
They come out of the same mash bill. It's just where they're aged. They age differently in different parts. Mm-hmm. I mean, when they used to be smaller, distilleries would sometimes move the barrels around, rotate them at a year, interval, to keep them all, the same at the same. Mm-hmm. But now, since they're not interested in having exactly the same taste profile year after year after year then you can have differences, and so that's what they do. Mm-hmm.
So I just did a quick smell comparison. Now this is stronger than the Weller, and it is aged 10 years, significantly longer than the Weller. So this has a very nice nose to it. Very
it's
sweet, very sweet.
It's very malty.
It seems to have brought out that sweet element in the base distillate. Mm-hmm. And then I went to the Weller and I was like, similar, but something's a little off with it. It brought out like a funky note to the Weller, and then of course I went to the White Dog and was revolted. But let's see. I'll just take a sip.
Yeah, the Weller is definitely younger.
Oh yeah.
Than the Tappy Vanwinkle.
Oh, that is good. Ooh, by far and away the best of the three, of course. But oh man, it's got my signature, and I'm not alone in this. My signature Buffalo Trace grape note. Which has to be there in the base distillate. You can't taste it at all in this, but it has to be there, and their aging brings it out. Boy, oh man, that is good. Wow, that is really good.
I'm gonna do the hand thing with this.
I'm not. It's too good for me to do that, but you do it.
It's hard to taste that brewery smell in there.
I get it.
It's
I
there,
get it.
but it's
Now,
harder than it was in the other two.
So now, having had that, go to the White Dog. But I'm just trying to see if I could taste any similarities.
This is unaged whiskey.
I'm just trying to pull out what has carried over from this to the old Rip. It's hard to taste any similarities. It really is.
It is.
Except for the sweetness.
Well, the sweetness is something that carries over, and I think that basic mash bill, mostly corn with some rye, maybe a little bit of malt in it. That smell, that's what you smell when you rub it in your hands, and that's in there. But the main thing is that the barrel has softened the freshness
God.
aspect of the whiskey, and it has added, you know, a lot of caramel from that charred oak barrel. That the charred oak, you know, it's very sweet,
Vanilla
and that
caramel.
gets into the whiskey, and so it's in addition to what's the basic part.
Yeah.
And so that's it.
I watched a video on a Cooper, you know, the people who make the barrels, and they said, you know, it showed how they do it, which is impressive. And they said they like to think that at least 80% of the flavor comes from the barrel. And I got to tell you, going back between the White Dog and this guy, they have to be right, because, like I said, the base flavors in this, I basically do not detect in this at all. But by the way, I took a couple sips of the Rip, and then went back to the Weller, and it was kind of off-putting in comparison. I didn't expect it to be that massive of a difference. It's a little off-putting.
Well, that's also something else. You know, you notice how we were okay with the White Dog when we started.
When it was the only thing we had, we're like, not bad.
And then, and as you move up, and then you start comparing, and you know, and a lot of it depends on what you really like. You know, if you like your whiskey to be very, very smooth and have nothing much that's going to stick out, but it's all sort of well blended and mild on the palate, then a really aged one is going to do it.
Yeah.
But if you like a little bit of life and zip in it, then it doesn't need to be so old, because a younger whiskey, not that young, but younger whiskey will have a little bit of edge to it that you might want.
Yeah. And having it like this makes a lot of sense, because I've had some too young whiskeys, and that is the note. I'll remember it forever now. When I smell this smell, I'm like, too young, do not abort, do not proceed.
Unless it's the only thing you've got.
Well, yes. So anyway, wow. Well, that was very enlightening, I gotta say. And man, you know, I've obviously had a couple drinks from this over the last 6 months or so, and it's never done very much for me. But boy, when you work your way up this ladder, oh God, it's great. It's great. I've always thought it was tremendously overrated, but
it also goes to say that
perspective is everything.
Tasting beverages of any kind is kind of subjective.
Yeah, it's the most subjective.
Yeah. So when you put this in your brain, this suffers by comparison.
Oh God, yeah.
You know, this one, wow. But, you know, if someone told you that this was as good as it gets, and they described it in wonderful, glorious terms, and it was the first thing you started sipping, it'd be great.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much for watching.
Yeah.
I hope we didn't talk too much about this, but it's kind of interesting.
That's up to me how much we talked.
And do like us, and subscribe if you like, and send us your questions, and we'll check every now and then and answer them if we can.
Yes.
And so, until next time.
Yeah. Cheers. All right, go lay down, boys.
I'm sure you can cut some stuff out of this.
Oh yeah, of course. I cut a shitload out of all of them.
Yeah, okay.